Well, you're right. It's good to see you competing again soon. You know, how are you and how were you approached to get involved with this quintet?
You know, Ant Evans actually asked me. He's part of the UFC Fight Pass crew, and you know, we've been trying to set up a couple of different grappling matches, one in the UK, one in Russia, and they kept falling through because I had other obligations. And this is enough time out and an interesting enough thing to bait me in to get involved. It's definitely unique, and I love that. And compete is something that I love to do. I do it every day in the gym when I'm in town, and so it made sense.
And you know, today earlier we found out your first opponent is Sakuraba himself.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and what that fight means to you, or that match means for you.
That for me, you know, Sakuraba was my favorite fighter when I first got into the sport. I had a 2-hour VHS tape of Sakuraba and all his crazy stuff he was doing, double, you know, flying chop hands and undressing the Gracie family, you know, one shoulder at a time. And probably my favorite fight of all time is when he fought in Heroes and you know, was rocked and kind of out of it, and they stopped the fight and shook him back into bounds, and he came back and won. So guy's incredible. I think he and I both have 19 submissions, which is close to the record in all of UFC, WC, Strikeforce, and Pride combined. So for me, this is awesome, man. It's a dream come true. I was shocked to be inducted in the Hall of Fame the same day as him, and now we get to compete together. It's pretty awesome.
When you look at the format and you see the possible people that you might be grappling with, some guys much larger, I mean, talk a little bit about that. I mean, does that excite you? I mean, you could be lining up against Barnett himself here in one of these matches. Is that kind of neat?
Yeah, that's an awesome perk to this thing. I mean, it's happened throughout my entire training experience where you're going against big guys, and it's kind of a tit for tat. You know, you give up speed on one side, you've got strength on the other, and it really comes down to technique, to be honest. So, especially guys like Barnett, who's definitely a technician, a scientist when it comes to submission grappling, and BJJ, you know, comes from a wrestling background as well. It's interesting. You know, you want those matchups. I do, at least. You know, I'm in pushing myself every day as a guy that loves the sport and that's mentoring other guys and doing other things on top of it. So to have something to focus on and have all these possibilities is exciting for me.
You talked about a 5-man team. I know you've talked about it in the past, acquiring a heavyweight for your team. Even you know, other names like lighterweight guys like Chris Holroot name popped up. Can you give us an update of what the current Team Alpha Male team's looking like going in?
So we've got two heavyweights that are brought on by Fabio Prado, who's, you know, one of the head jiu-jitsu guys at our team. You know, our Brazilian fighter is Olympic Brazilian wrestler and black belt in BJJ. I forget how to pronounce his name exactly. I'll put it out. It's you know, it's exciting to have him. He's like 235 pounds, and then you got Kelly Knudsen, who's out of Reno, right down the road from us. He's just recently a black belt, but a heavyweight as well. And we've got Munshir, who's he's trained with us, you know, off and on throughout the years, and is out of New York. He's about 170 pounds. And then Dustin Akbari, he's one of the founders of the team. He's the first guy that was with me when he was 14 years old. He's a world champion jiu-jitsu player, and so we're all kind of working together to figure out the best game plan for attacking these other 5-man teams. It's fun.
As far as the strategy goes, is there anything, you know, without revealing too much, as far as you think could be an advantage coming from a gym that has a lot of smaller guys? For example, scrambling in defense sounds like it could be a good strategy. If you, as far as the way the format goes, as far as canceling out, you know, say a big guy gets momentum on the other teams. Are you thinking about scenarios like that and how your guys' strengths can play into the competition?
Yeah, big time. I mean, this is human chess at its finest. I mean, it already is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where it's mixed martial arts. A piece of mixed martial arts, but it's the human jockeying. That's part of it. And now you've got multiple players and different strategies and things like that. So it's just a fun game to play, you know. For us, if you're 44 pounds difference from the guy you're competing against, it's a 4-minute match. So that plays into it. Not getting submitted or getting a submission in 4 minutes can be something that is difficult or easy, depending on how you're looking at it. And then you may want against a bigger guy an 8-minute match. I know that I have a gas tank and a strength that can sometimes match those guys, but you know, getting a guy tired and fatigued, most submissions happen towards ends of matches when guys show a little bit of weakness. So it could play either way. If you're within the 44 mark, as far as weight goes, you're at an 8-minute match. If you're at a 4-minute match, then you're, you know, a bigger weight discrepancy. But it all plays into it. And we've got submitters, we've got guys that are going to go for the kill. So I like that.
Do you think the last man standing and the fact that you might be fighting with these bigger guys, do you think that's what's really going to resonate and grab the Americans that maybe aren't that familiar with grappling matches?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the drama of the whole thing. I mean, there's suspense. You don't know who you're going to go against. You don't know who's fighting next, what matchups you may or may not see. There's so many possibilities. That is going to be enticing. You've got some guys that have really been established in the mixed martial arts game, that are really established in the BJJ game. So that in itself is pretty interesting. And there's already these worlds that have their own built-in fan bases, and the people that really love the sport are going to want to see this. You know, when I saw Quintet, when they told me what it was, I went and watched, and I was like, oh man, this is so interesting. I was hooked.
Right. As far as, you know, gyms and stuff competed, have you caught wind of any other gyms that are interested in future quintets? And if so, or if not, are there any MMA gyms, well-known gyms that you think would do well, or you would want to see enter the future quintets?
Oh, just in California alone, you've got AKA, you've got Dom's camp out in San Diego. You've got you know, the Diaz brothers. They could put together a good team with Nick and Nate and Jake and Gil and those guys. There's a lot of guys. I mean, I could see this thing taking off. And you know, for me, moving into retirement from mixed martial arts is more about being able to focus on other things and, you know, saving my brain. That's what we're selling. We're prize fighters, is punches to the head. This is a good way to compete, you know, kind of whet the appetite a little bit, and then, you know, also have a lot of fun. So, you know, maybe this will spark an interest, get the fire back, who knows. But for right now, I'm just excited to go out and compete and be mindful of a new game that I'm playing.
So that just kind of took the legs out. My last question was, is this sparking the idea of you maybe getting back in there? Because you are, I guess, still under contract with UFC. So if you did fight, you would fight underneath them?
Yeah, I'm still contracted with the UFC. I'm still in the USADA pooling, just in case something comes up. I train, you know, more than some of the guys that are pros, to be honest. I'm in the gym all the time when I'm in town, especially. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past, you know, jumping back in. I know that I've watched throughout. I've been a student of careers like guys like Randy Couture and you know, Tito Ortiz and Henderson's, and these guys that fought well into their 40s. So I know it's very possible, and I would be a candidate because I live such a healthy lifestyle and I didn't take a ton of damage. But for right now, I'm just really enjoying doing what I'm doing, being a guy that's mentoring and doing business and doing entertainment and having a lot of fun. And this is definitely something I'm looking forward to.
So they're still testing you, or just the possibility of still being
No, yeah,
tested?
they test me. They tested me last week.
Really?
6 a.m. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the only thing is getting up early, but I just go right back to sleep, so it's all good. And one of the cool things about living your passion is being able to go back to bed when you want it.
So what is it that makes it so hard for athletes? And it's not as a negative thing or not, but to retire and stay retired.
Well, there's a bunch of parts to that. I mean, first off, and this is a lesson for the young kids out there that have trouble paying their coaches and paying their managers and things like that. You know, the margins in fighting are incredible. You know, if you look at the average, I'm putting together, you know, we have this MMA university that I have for my TAM guys. They can log in and get techniques and get knowledge and stuff like that. You know, the average profit margin for the clothing company is like 4 to 7%. For the restaurant industry, you're looking at 17 or 7 to like maybe 20% if you're lucky. Construction's like 17 to 22% profit margin if you're a business doing big business. For the fight game, if you're paying your guys correctly, you should be able to hold on to anywhere from, you know, 65 to 85% of your winnings. that's a great business, you know, even though you're risking your brain, etc. It's also fun. It takes a long time to acquire the skills to get where you're actually world class. I was a world champion before my skill set was what it is today, or what it was when I retired. You know, there's give and take on that stuff, but you're looking at guys that take an entire lifetime to learn. There's still a lot to learn. I'm still learning BJJ and striking and all this kind of stuff. So you're at the best, even though you're a little bit older and the competition's different and things like that. Technically, if you continue to grow, so that's tempting. Also, it's like it's something I love. It's something it's easy to do. The margins are great. It's good money. So that's what makes it tempting. It's common sense sometimes where you have to stop, because I always make the analogy. I talked about it with Joe Rogan. It's like drinking beer. You know, you see your dad drinking a beer, and you're like, oh man, I want to drink beer with the boys. You know, when you're a little kid, and then you taste the beer and like, oh crap. You know, but then you like shove it down because you want to be one of the guys, and then you start to like it, and then if you don't stop, it'll be a big problem. You know, so that's the way sparring is. It looks fun, and then you're like, oh, I didn't think he was going to hit me in the face, and then you're like, but yeah, I'm going to tough it out. Then you get better at it, and then you kind of need it, and then if you don't stop, you're going to get your brain smashed. So that's the way I look at it. Could I do some more fights? Absolutely. Could I do years of more fights? Absolutely. Would I maybe do some fights? Very possible, but right now I'm enjoying having my brain and having a good time.
How long after you retired did you get the itch, the first time you got the itch to maybe...
To fight?
Yeah, if you have.
It's been a bunch of times at fights. You know, this is the best way to put it to someone that doesn't understand, and it started first with wrestling. If I was a wrestler in high school, I got a late start with wrestling in high school and college, so because I loved it, and no one pushed me into it. I wasn't one of these kids that got brought up from 4 years old wrestling, etc. It was like something that I was drawn to. If I walk by a room and the people are wrestling, I feel like I need to jump in. Like I just want to. That's like an animal that sees a fight and has to like run and jump in like a dog, you know? Some people have that, some people don't. And the fight game's the same way. So there's been times when you're watching a fight and your instinct is like, I gotta get in there, you know? So that's happened quite a few times, but there's also been quite a few times where I'm watching a fight and going, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not in there. So it goes both ways, yeah.
Do you remember?
Geez, Darren Elkins, his big comeback fight, you know? He was getting hammered and just stuck it out and stuck it out. There's been a couple of those for him. And he came back and landed a big kick, and, you know, he's the damage, so he had to get sutured up. But there's been quite a few where I'm like, you're sitting cage side, you're hearing thud and bump and snap, and you're like, that's right.
How do you feel physically, like, since you're not training to fight and you've had this time, I mean, do you just feel better than ever having the break?
I feel incredible. And my guys can testify to it, you know. For Cody's match, we did a 50-minute grind match. My design, I wanted him to do a 50-minute grind match, and just to push me and him. And we've done, you know, I compete all the time in the room. I got, you know, that's my release, and that's my judgment of where I'm at. So I feel great. I feel strong enough to cut weight. I hit as high as 166, which was like, holy crap. By the time after training the next day, I was 157 and a half. So my body is fluctuating, but yeah, I got up to 166. That's massive for me. So I feel strong. I feel good. I'm excited to go in and train. It's a good feeling.
So you're not ruling out a comeback. And what would it take to make that happen?
I would never rule out a comeback. This is the real world. It would have to be a fight that makes a lot of sense and have some good money behind it, and it'd have to get me excited. That's all.
Right. Ricardo Ramos, he was training with you. Now you have Raulian Paiva, another Brazilian, Fabio Prado.
Yeah. Daiko?
Daiko, yeah. Are you thinking about bringing more Brazilians? Are you thinking maybe you open a Team Alpha Male in Brazil or something like that?
We have I think 23 or so, counting Dana White Contender Series fighters that are either full-time or part-time coming in to train with us that are training with Team Alpha Male. And Fabio Potato Prado has been my long-term coach. He was 10 years in my corner. He has a gym that is you know, 45 minutes from my gym, and we all work together. So he's been bringing a lot of top level talent from Brazil. And so we're going to continue to grow the Brazil side. We have, you know, the Team Alpha Male Japan guys with Taruto and the guys out there. We have quite a few guys from China now. We have 4 guys from China at our gym. Song Yidong is actually the guy right now that is kind of leading that charge. He's incredible. We have big hopes for him. We've got a bunch of guys from the UK. There's a little girl named Corey McKenna who's about to fight in about 3 weeks. She comes out and does some training with us, and she's a phenom. She trained with us when she was 16, 17, now 18, and she's incredible. We've got a guy, Mason and Nad Namahari. We've got a lot of guys from that part of the world. Our team is massive, and people don't know because it's you know, you get to identify, oh, this person, that person, but we've got a massive operation in the new facility, and the Brazilians are a big part of that.
Uriah, I have to ask before you go, you've been, speaking of business, seems like you've been having a lot of fun with Hollywood and with movie productions and all that sort of stuff. Can you maybe give us an update on what's there? And is there anything new coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, we have a movie called Green Fever, and I'm producing on it. We shot the whole thing in 10 days. It's a really cool storyline. It's based on a true story. I actually have Andre Touchy-Feely, who has a big part in that, and he does a great job. The guy's a natural. And so that's one of about 7 different movies that I have, you know, rights to and in the pipeline. Some that I'm in, some that I'm just producing, and I'm enjoying that side of it. I've studied that game for about 8 years. My manager, Mark Schulman, kind of started giving me tutelage throughout the years, and I've built a team, have a little production company with Jared Roxburgh and who I met through UFC actually, and really cool, fun stuff, and I'm learning the business side of it. It's just like, you know, the fight game. I started the fight game in 2003. There was no roadmap. There was no, you know, status quo. There was no weight class for me, and had to find out my own path. In the entertainment, there's actually like rules and recipes and equations where you can make some money and be creative, and so I'm excited about that side of things.